Am I a Noah hater? I hold my right not to speak, but I do think he's in trouble at world champs, specifically the 100. The 200, I'm not gonna really get into too much details about whether I think he's gonna win or not. At least not right now. I mainly want to focus on 100, and I've got a few videos up on this screen. So over there, sure everyone recognizes that. That's Usain Bolt. There, that's Christian Coleman. That is me. And then I think behind this, if I can get it, got Safa Powell up there. There's another video somewhere of no Lyles. I don't know where it is though. Gotta find that thing. I'm about to pull it up in a sec if I can't find it. I'm trying to drag this stuff around so I can get it into place. Okay. There's this video. This wasn't there. So I'm gonna break down this start. You see it? I'm about to add it. Stop mirroring. And then... Okay, there. I'm gonna break down this start. Right there, no Lyles. I'll make it bigger so you can see it properly. I'm also gonna move this closer so you can see it properly. But before I do, I wanna just look at the other starts that we have here. So, Safa Powell, Usain Bolt, Christian Coleman, me, some of the best starters in the world. Yeah, I'm joking on the last part, but yeah, I want to just show something that we all do, which Noah doesn't do, before we see his start. So the first thing we're gonna notice is if you go to me. Oh wow, that's so cool. But anyway, if you go to me, I'm gonna play the video. So you're gonna see some good things and some bad things. I'm not really getting a big stride. Hello, Pull Up Paradise. Not getting a big stride, but you can see clearly if I can get it. Low heel recovery, low heel recovery. Let me see if I can read this. And then you start to get a little cycle. That leg drops. And then the cycle probably starts here, where the heel goes over the knee. Right there. The heel goes over the knee. And then the next foot does the same thing. You can't see it because it's going over the knee. And then I don't need to show the rest. Not that there's much left anyway, but every step from the fifth step, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So from this step, every step onwards, you have the heel going over the opposite leg's knee. So there's a continual cycle. Now, let's go to Safa Powell. Just going to play the video. That music may or may not be copyright. Probably is. Probably copyright. But you can see something similar. I think he does it on the fourth step. I'm going somewhere with this. Just let me cook. So, look. 1, heel recovery low. Wait, let me count again. 1, 2, 3, 4. You see that? You see how it just, the back leg, the rear leg, it rips up and forwards. And now that foot's going over the knee. And it's the same for the next leg, and obviously every step after that. Again, I am going somewhere with this. Next, we're going to look at Bolt. He's going to do the same thing. Don't need to go in that far. might just do this like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth step. He did it. Oh, actually, man, I'll be able to see this. My head might be in the way. Go over there. Let's go back. One, 2, 3, 4. It takes him 4 steps to get the leg up and over the knee, as you can see right there. At least I hope you can see it. I'm not sure if you can, but 4th step, he gets it over the knee. And then we find Christian Coleman. Everything this guy does is textbook anyway, so him doing this isn't that big of a surprise. But same thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the 5th, no, the 6th, sorry. You get the leg start to cycle. So you do it there. I no longer attend university, so if you do race me, it would have to be an open meet. I go to the same open meets every year, so you'll find me. But yeah, on the 6th step, he starts to do his cycle, and then from there it's the same every other step. So let's look at the main man himself, Noah Lyles. My head's probably in the way. Noah Lyles. Let's see what he does. Why I'm so annoyed with this. Can make it bigger? I can't. Why I'm so annoyed with this, and why I'm saying chances are he's not gonna get a medal. This gives it away. This gives it away. So I'm just gonna play it, and I'm gonna let you guys see what you see. Move it closer. Again, because my big head makes it really hard to see stuff. Okay. Okay. Even if I did time the 10-meter splits. Oh wait, let me start one way up. So, Perk Paradise, if you say your name, I may know you. And debuzzing, even if I did time the 10-meter splits, the issue here is some of these are in races, some of these are what do you call it? In training. For example, Christian Coleman, the start of his video was slowed down, so that wouldn't really be a good example. And then who cares about me? But Noah, we already know, has some of the slowest initial 10-meter splits in races amongst his field. So it wouldn't be that big of a shock for me to realize, oh yeah, Noah didn't have a fast 10 meters. I mean, that's not the best part of his race. So TK Maverick Honda, what I'm trying to show, as I'm guessing you're late, is Noah probably isn't going to get a medal at World Champs, specifically in the 1. The 2, I'm not going to speak on that yet, but on the 1, this start is why I think he won't get a medal. So I want to highlight some things. I'm not going to just say straight up no medal here. First I'm going to say is, if we go through the race, well, not the race, like the run, you can see on the floor there's some markings. I'm not sure if it's very clear, but there's some markings, and his foot is landing where each one of these markings are. I believe that's tape. So he is trying to reach these tapes, and I know from experience that when you've got a marker that you try to reach, if it's too far ahead, your technique isn't going to move the way it's supposed to. I'm sure he's got these markers down with his coach, where it's like, if I get these markers, I'm going to be moving at a certain time or something. I don't know. I'm not his coach, so I can't speak on that. But what I can say is there is a chance that this isn't actually how he would really run in the 100. But I beg to differ for one reason and one reason only, which is, if you ever seen Noah Lyles start, you'll notice he does something which is really weird, which is when he runs at the start, it's not like he's driving, it's more like he's bounding. Like, look how long these steps are. If you told me he was like 6'1", I'd believe you. He's my height. I'm pretty sure he's around my height. He's like 5'10". Might be a bit taller than him. So he's got long legs, sure, but the lengths that he's taking with every single step is enormous. And someone in the comments of this short, oh, by the way, this short was from Travis Miller. I don't actually know who he is. I think he's a track and field reporter. But in some of the comments, people are saying it looks like he's about to do hurdles. Like, if you remove the head, if you didn't know who Noah Lyles was, but you knew who Grant Holloway was, you'd be hard-pressed to not think that this is Grant Holloway. Purely based off of how he's moving on each stride. Grant Holloway bounds down with every single step. Understandable. He's about to go over a hurdle in what, 15 meters? Maybe less. I don't do hurdles, so I don't know exactly where the first hurdle was placed. Whilst Noah, he's trying to drive for as long as he can, yet he's bounding. And you can see from how he's moving, he's got the bounding is allowing him to have low heel recovery. It's not going to be that hard because you're bounding. But let's count how long it takes for his leg to start the cycle. Again, I am going somewhere with this. So, first step, 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep going. 5. It's not over the knee. So that still doesn't count. 6. See how he's dropping down? The foot is going from up to down. Hasn't tried starting cycling yet. 7. Still hasn't really, but you could make a case. You could go either way. 8. Oh, and as you can kind of start to see, it looks like his foot is about to do the same thing. He's going to start to drop. So it's, yeah, if I can get the frame right, you can see how his foot is going down. So he's still, he's supposed to be driving, but he's still driving like he's taking his first 3 to 5 steps out of blocks. Let me start going over some of these. TK Maverick Honda, what I think wins the race is how you finish. But you might be thinking, well, yeah, Noah finishes strong, but he leaves too much room. He's barely broken 10. And yeah, people say, like, and I have to agree, he is very good at finishing a race and showing up when it counts. But he was injured middle of the season. He's barely broke 10. He hasn't really done it that often. I would love to have the stats off the top of my head, but I think he's done it 2 times. And I think I'm being kind there. Maybe 3. He had his injury, barely broke 10, and it's a long season. Everyone's tired, and there's been no gap years between these world champs. You just had a world champ, Olympics, world champ, would keep going. And this season's really long, so people are struggling. That might be to his advantage, but we'd have to see. This start, though, is definitely not to his advantage. He is known for his sheer power, but it's not really that he's powerful in the conventional sense. He's just elastic, which comes to the point I'm trying to make. Yeah, I'm rather studied. Grant has a pretty good start, though. I'm not saying he doesn't have a good start. What I'm trying to say is Grant's start works because he's got a hurdle to go over straight up, so he has to rise that high. Bounding makes sense. Plus, Grant's like what, 6'2"? I don't know exactly how tall he is, but Noah and Grant are nowhere near the same height. I don't know why Grant, in this case, would be relevant by season. Someone else responding. I'm pretty sure. Actually, it's really hard to see where the 10 meters is. I know why people want to tape, but I don't think it's for the 7 steps because at his level, 7 steps isn't a hard thing to do. I'm pretty sure there's times where even I hit 7 steps. I think he actually might have been close to like 6.5 for this. So I'm not really certain what the tape's really for. I'd have to again be his coach to know. Oh. Yeah, Noah's ankles aren't stiff. Ask me about my podium predictions at the end of this live, after I've done this. I'm not saying Grant is slow. I am saying anything but that. Have you seen Grant do race Christian Coleman to the first hurdle? He won. He's not slow. That 6'5", by the way, is false. He's faster than that. He's not a 6'5" guy. He's like a low 6'4" guy. I know I can't directly compare Christian Coleman's start to Noah Lyles' start. What I can compare is the models. So, if I was to try to bound down the track the same way Noah did, with the same power Noah had, we would be about the same location, saying our technique's the same. And if we go up against the rest of the elite fields to, let's say, 10 meters as well, me and Noah would both get left both times because the technique we're using is horrible. He can get away with it for the first 3 steps, not because he can get away with it, because that's actually correct. He's supposed to have low heel recovery and driving, but I would say his knees should be more angled like that. Actually, more like that. It gets really vertical, and then it has to move back, which it's gonna have to do anyway. That's how you sprint. But I think he's getting too high, and he's overextending. He's getting triple extension, but the triple extension is being dragged. He's spending too much time on the ground, and I know at the start when you're accelerating, you want to spend as much time as possible on the ground. But if you can spend less time on the ground, it's to your benefit. Ground contact time being low is to your benefit, and you do want to spend more time on the ground when you're accelerating. But if you can reduce your ground contact time in exchange for a higher a higher speed at this specific step, anyone with a brain would take that. Instead, he's doing the exact opposite. And I might as well bring this up now. The reason why I was mentioning everyone else and when they started to cycle, which for everyone was between, I believe, 4 to 6 steps, with Christian Coleman, I believe, being the longest, at about 6, I think it was 6, is because Noah is a speed power athlete, not a power speed athlete, if you look at the force velocity curve. And that difference is big and it matters. Reason being is a power speed athlete would be someone like Christian Coleman, a Safa Powell. These are athletes who just pop out Trayvon Bromell as well. People who just pop out the blocks and they just disappear. And you know they can do that because of the crazy amount of weight they can move in the gym. They have a huge strength base which they converted into power, and that power does well to show on the track as speed due to their excellent technique, which is also shown by their excellent power, which allows the technique to happen. Noah, on the other hand, he's trained in the gym for like years now. He looks way different from how he first started, and his technique's developed partially because of that as well. So he's got more power, but he's still a speed power athlete, still the other way around, which is why when he sprints, he does better in the 200 than he does in the 1, most cases, and he does better in the final half of 100 than he does on the first half of the 100, 50-50, because of this difference. So the cycling is important because after, let's actually rewind this to show. After the first 3 to 5 steps, so 1, 2, 3, I'm just going to stay here to make it easier. After this part, depending on how much power you have, your body's going to want to naturally start to cycle. You can force yourself not to, but your body's going to want to naturally start to cycle, and it's allowed. If you follow the technical models, your body's going to say, yes, we need to cycle, and we're going to get faster because of it. You've left the blocks, and now you're going to drive, and when people drive, at some point, they're going to have to start the cycle. And the reason why that's necessary is because of elasticity. There are 3 things which affect how you produce force into the ground with every step. 3 main things that I'm going to talk about. So you've got the muscles, your tendons, and your bones. All of these, by the way, have some level of elasticity. Even your bones, as shocking as this might seem, your bone density plays a big role in how fast you can run, but it's not going to be that important for this. We're going to mainly focus on the muscles and the tendons. So the muscles are very good at producing power, but they do this at slow rates. whilst the tendons are very good at producing power, but at fast rates. When the muscles are taking over, predominantly, the tendons can't do their job, and vice versa. So when the tendons are taking over predominantly, the muscles can't do their job as well, because they're not supposed to be doing them, especially when you're sprinting. Sprinting is elastic and reflexive, not like something like powerlifting or Olympic weightlifting, where you just technique is obviously going to be necessary, but you can just muscle your way into the right position or get the weight at a certain position, and then you're fine. So after the first 3 steps, that is where 3 to 5, that's where the transfer from the gym to the track mostly wears off. The muscles can only efficiently transfer about 50% of whatever input you give them. So if you say, okay, I want to put 100 kilograms worth of force into the track, it might only give you back 50, which sounds weird to say out loud, but it's the truth. It might only give you about 50, and the speed is going to give that to you is not going to be as fast as what you'd be expecting from your tendons. The second you leave the blocks, every single step you take, if you sprint correctly, there should be a drift from being muscle dominant to tendon elastic dominant, which is why the ground contact times at the start of 100 meters or any sprint event is really slow compared to the ground contact times you're experiencing once you're at top end and you're trying to maintain it. Because by that point, once your foot hits the floor, you want your Achilles to load and unload, or load and reload for the next step, bound off and do the same thing. It's not so much you're trying to speed up, it's more so you're trying to just maintain whilst pretty much doing nothing, which is why relaxation is so important. Because when you're not relaxed, you tense up, and when you tense, your tendons they constrict, so they're not able to do their job as well. So the cycling motion is reflexive, it's elastic based, and when you cycle, the foot has also a greater angle to attack back at, and it's also faster. Going forwards and back when you sprint, early acceleration for the first few steps is very efficient, but as you start to pick up speed, your body is getting into a position to hit the ground faster than it was before. So the cycle comes through to allow your body, well, allow your foot to get to the ground faster, whilst achieving a faster shank velocity. Shank being your knee all the way down to your ankle. So when you are at speeds that necessitate that the cycle starts to happen, which is why when you run 100 meters, you don't try to drive down low the entire way from zero to the tape, or just go backwards and forwards with your feet the entire way, because it's not efficient. Your body is changing gears. Okay, my phone gears. Cycling is a part of that gear change. When you don't allow yourself to cycle, the gears can't change, you can't pick up speed. Which is why if I was to race myself just driving how I would for the first 3 steps for 100 meters, I would lose. I'd probably run like 13 seconds and I'd be really tired, because the muscles fatigue really quickly, which is why part of the reason why the tendons take over, because they can do the job way better than the muscles can. The efficiency difference between the muscles and the tendons is almost 2. So the tendons can almost completely efficiently transfer force at about 90%. 90% of the intention every single step is transferred perfectly, which is why you can get up to speed really quickly once you start to get out, or start to get closer to getting out of your drive phase, compared to building speed at the start, where it's slower and the speed gains are slower on every single step. So the lack of cycle on, was this the 3rd step? The lack on cycle here from the 4th and the 5th means every single step is muscly. So if you watch, you can, let me get you guys even closer if I can. If you watch here, you can see he wants to leave the ground here, right here, this position, he wants to leave the ground, but he over pushes instead. That's why his foot stays on the ground a bit longer. Ankle stiffness, sure, probably is, but he stays on the ground a bit longer than he should, because his foot wants to leave the ground around here he stays on, pushes, and comes off. You can see his thighs split open wide. That's naturally going to happen when you're running. But the front leg, sorry, it has to go up higher than it probably would want to. Probably wants to stay about there and start to come back down. So he has to hold that position, get decent more air time than he wants before he starts to attack back. And this has a negative impact on his angles. So if you go back, you can see it from, I believe it's the second step. So the first step, he attacks back. That's great. Does it well. The second step, he attacks back. It's all right. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's quite good. And then the third step, you can literally see he attacks, and then this is the magic. This is the magic. Why I'm saying there's an issue. So when your front foot touches down, the rear foot wants to be as close as possible. Yeah, this gap between the feet is a bad thing. Reason being is this front foot can't start to push properly. It can't. Any power you produce before this foot gets to this foot, once they're together like that, is wasted motion. It cannot push properly because the body isn't able to push efficiently. I mean, the muscles can't push properly already, but the body isn't able to push efficiently until the body is in line. Which is why you don't squat with two legs separated. If you just try to do a max weight lunge, for example, and compared how much weight you could lift for one rep of your lunge compared to a squat, you would see the weights are vastly different. It could be something like you could squat 200 kilograms, then you can only lunge maybe 150, 140, because the body isn't very good at resistance, bearing resistance, dealing with it when the limbs are split apart. It wants everything underneath the hips. So until this equilibrium is met again, any force you produce is just dissipated. It's not even going into the ground. You might as well be kicking out because nothing's happening. And it's only until the foot gets here where you can, if you look, I mean, it might not be very obvious through the phone, but you can see his foot only starts to properly bend and drop down a bit once this back foot gets in line. It's not because he's doing it on purpose. He just cannot push any earlier than that. If he did, somehow, his coordination would be very off, and it'd be a very weird thing to see, pushing on to the next step with this foot way behind you. And it's the same thing on every single step after that. It's still far apart. You can see as he's getting faster speeds, the angular velocity of his shank is speeding up. So there's less of a gap, time lag, between the time it takes for this foot to get to this foot again. But you watch again and you see the same thing. His hips moving forwards, that's natural. You're at speed, so the hip's going to move. But he doesn't start to push until here. Until the toe is in line with the heel of the other foot, you can't start to push. It's impossible. And if we go to, who should I pick? If we go to Usain Bolt, for example. I think that was way too quick. That's 958 speed for you. Look. Usain Bolt gets that back foot in quick, which is a good thing already. And then he starts to cycle there. The reason why he starts to cycle is because the speed he's picked up from, I think this is his third step, the speed he's picked up from this third step makes it so that if he's not reflexive about what he does, if he tries to drive the leg forwards intentionally by himself, what's going to happen is there's going to be a massive lag. He's not going to be able to get the leg together. So every second not every second, he's not going to, the difference between getting the leg from that position to next to the other one is going to be that big. But every millisecond where he's not able to push with that leg in line is wasted energy, wasted effort, and an inefficient movement which would come at the cost of his world record, potentially. He'd probably break it anyway. But for Noah, this would be a big deal, because his leg isn't coming through quick, and because he's overstriding, it comes through even slower, and he spends more time in the air because of it. His body wants to cycle. I'd actually say on the third step he wants to cycle. So here, I think, let me go back. No, the fourth step. On the fourth step, his body wants to cycle, and you can see by the foot. If you watch the foot if you go back one step, if you watch the foot here, you can see it come off the ground, and then it wants to come through low. Yeah, that's because it's muscle that's being used as the main force to drive it. When you have muscle, it's much easier to keep a low heel recovery. But on the next step, the foot rises. As he goes forwards, this foot starts to go up. And then he uses his quads and he swings it down low to force another low heel recovery when he doesn't need it. So he's already over pushing. He's forcing a low heel recovery at his own detriment. And because his foot isn't coming through quick enough because of these two things, he's not getting to 10 meters as fast as he wants to. The speed he's achieved by 10 meters isn't as fast as it could have been if he just allowed the cycle. I'm not saying the start's bad, but for what he could be doing, it isn't as good as it should be. And I wish I had the proof on the screen from my Mac right now to prove it. But when he used to sprint, like earlier when he beat Christian Coleman doing like these tiny little steps, he would be cycling and he'd be doing it early when he thought his body wanted to. He was running naturally. He was moving naturally instead of trying to force a technique that he thought was right. Because here, it's just a bunch of bounds. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bounds. And the height of his back leg drifts. And something else is interesting is you can see his front leg. It stays at that 90-degree angle. Whilst his back, this was like from the middle area, probably about, I'm not gonna guess, I'm bad with angles, but it's probably that 150 degree. No, probably about 120. Probably about 120 degrees. But as he starts to really open up, that 90-degree angle starts to change. His front leg starts to swing out because and you can see that he's able to attack back better. But the reason why he's able to attack back better is purely because his body wants to cycle. He's letting the front leg start to initiate the cycling motion, but then he stops it himself. So again, on this step, for example, which is the step after the other step I was showing you, you can see how the leg swings up. Again, even higher. And then it comes down. The height of his leg, he should get to his knee or just miss it if he was just to go into a straight line. But because he wants to try and drive with low heel recovery, instead of that, he's not. And this should cost him about 1/10 of a second. As crazy as that sounds, it could genuinely cost him about 1/10 of a second. Because initially, he's wasting time like this. And then add on the energy loss for moving like this for so long. Because again, you're using the muscles for longer. Well, you're using the muscles predominantly for longer than they want to be used. Once he gets upright, he's not going to be able to hold his top end for as long. It might just be 1 meter, maybe 2, but that would be maybe even less than that. But that could be the difference between a win or a loss, bronze or silver, silver or gold, gold or a world record. But I doubt that's going to happen. But these things are the main issue, which is why if he were to get to the podium, I have him as bronze. For my podium pick, I have him as bronze. Purely because he just has that good of a top end. I wouldn't really say it's that great this season. It's alright. Nowhere at his best. There is no time where anyone matches his top end. But we have seen a few instances this season where people are close, or like Oblique Seville, bang on the closing speeds for about the final 30-40 meters, which is something that doesn't really often happen for Noah unless it's early season. We're not early season. We're July, August, September. We're late. Now he should be, if not peaking, close to peaking. And right now, he definitely wants to be peaking. I don't know if you can read the writing here, but it says last practice of the season, best one of the season. So these are things that he'd be doing before World Champs. This is literally him before World Champs. I hope. If this is a different season, then you can ignore my words. Pretty much, I'm just hating for no reason. But this movement pattern isn't really good for all of this, which is why I've gone at bronze. The 200, he's I want to give him gold, but if he got silver, I wouldn't be surprised. And he can get away with this in the 2 because the distance is longer. Sure, it's probably gonna affect his top end like how it would in the 100. Double the distance doesn't mean he's got double the chance of winning. It also means he's got double the chance of his top end fading early. But the 200, he's figured out that event really well, so he could probably get away with that. Now let me get into responding to some of this. TK Maverick Kondo, about the bounding being able to drive more power through your transition. You can drive more power through your transition because, like I've alluded to, you have a longer ground contact time and you can produce more power because of that. But the issue here is when you over push, the ground contact time becomes too long, and the extra power that you've been able to generate from having this longer ground contact time comes at the cost of the clock. You spend more time here than was perhaps necessary, and now at the end of the race, you've got to really fight to make it back. For example, if Noah was going to run a 9.75 race, he might run a 9.8 race because it's something like this. Just the early 10 meters for the reasons I've gone over. Over pushing, bounding action, the not whipping the back leg in fast enough, driving with low heel recovery for longer than necessary. That all adds up, and it would all add up into a slower time. Could he pull off something crazy doing this anyway? Sure. He's not really known for his starts. He's known for his finish. And even though he does stuff like this, he can still run a 6.4 in a 60, leading up to a 9.7, or a 6.4 in an open 60. So he's got a lot of talent, so he can get away with a lot of stuff. But when you're going up against people who have the same level of talent, if not more, this could bite you in the back. Because when it comes to the technical models, you have spent your entire life standing up. So when you're sprinting and you're sprinting upright, you can do whatever you want to a degree, standing up, and you might run fast anyway, purely because you do this. You've been doing this or been trying to do this from the day you was born. When it comes to accelerating at a 45-degree angle, you have not been doing that since the day you've been born. You haven't been trying that until you started track or a sport similar to that, maybe like football, basketball to a degree because of like dribbling and the penultimate step and stuff like that. But you're not really doing this often. You've probably been at best doing sprinting for maybe 1 to 2 decades, and it's for about an hour, maybe 4 times per week, instead of standing up for like the majority of the day, or if not, at least more than just an hour or even 3 hours of the day. So when you drift from the standard technical models, when you're accelerating at this funny degree, it will cost you because you're not able to produce power efficiently. Another thing is, if you were to go look at the figure 4, I don't know why I'm doing that, but the figure 4 when you're upright, you have the same thing, which is you can tell someone's over pushing by whether their front foot touches the floor and their back leg is still in the air with their thighs separated, kind of like that, instead of in line like that. When you don't have the figure 4 shape, or at least this thigh joint togetherness on each step, you know the athlete is spending more time on the ground than they need to, and is going to be spending a lot of time on the ground than is necessary, just trying to get the leg back together before they can actually start to push. And it's the same thing here. Sure, you can drift from the technical models when you're accelerating, but it is very rare for an athlete to be talented enough to pull that off. Even Usain Bolt couldn't drift from the technical models, and he's like the most gifted athlete we've ever seen in the sport. 9.58 isn't a joke. So if even Usain Bolt can't drift when he's accelerating, Noah definitely can't drift. We've even got the statistics to back it up. He has some of the slowest 10-meter intervals against any field he races against when everyone's at the same level. There's going to be some guy who runs like 10-1, 10-2 sometimes in the race who is going to be maybe in line with Noah. Sometimes they beat him to 10 meters. But none of that should really be happening. Sure, he's got an issue starting, but when you do stuff like this, your issue starting becomes an even greater issue for no reason, and it hampers you. Everyone has a weakness and a strength, I agree, but when in this sport you focus just as much on your weakness as you do your strength. And one thing most people do when they have weaknesses is they try not to make their weaknesses worse, which is this. There was a point where his acceleration was really good, and I'll say that I think that was 2 years ago, where he had a really good acceleration and he could stay with the field because he did the right things. He wasn't doing this. I can say for a fact, if I was to go on the internet and put up one of his starts from 2023, he was not doing this. Doesn't matter if this was in a 60, 100, or 200, he was not doing this. Because this is something new. Because I see his starts, I watch his channel, I see how he moves. This is the first time I've ever seen this. This is part of the reason why I'm making this video, this live. Because it's like, where did this come from? I'm actually kind of stunned that Lance let this happen. Because I don't know what is going on here. But yeah, that's weird. You usually try to make your strengths. Well, your weakness is your strengths, or at least your weakness is less weak. TK Maverick Connor, why do I keep struggling to say your name? Noah's stride is set up for top speed efficiency rather than short-term production. You may think that, but it's not because of the over pushing. So he's still setting himself up for his top end. That is what the acceleration's for by default. But the issue is the bounding action with the over pushing, which is pretty much just the same thing, is making it so he's going to get to his top end later than the field, which might seem good initially, because if you get to your top end later, that means there's less deceleration by default. But the issue is he's also behind the field doing that. When you're in line or in front of the field and you get to your top end speed late, that's a good thing. But when you're behind already, from literally the first 5-ish steps, that is never a good thing. Because sure, you got into your top end later than everyone else, but it's because you lost so much time at the start that everyone else has already started decelerating, and now you've finally caught up to everyone. And then because of stuff like this, you have less energy to hold your top end, because energy efficiency and energy maintenance is the main thing of sprinting. You've only got, I don't think this is exactly true, the science behind it, but you've only got about 7 seconds to use the full contents of, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the ATP TC, or is it PC system. After those seconds, the race becomes increasingly more aerobic, which means those first few steps especially, you're able to produce the most amount of power possible. If you spend more time producing power for no reason, you're not moving, it comes at a massive cost middle of the race and maybe even at the end of the race. A lot of Noah's races don't have to be as close as they end up being because of the mistakes he ends up making around here. Cam, no sprinter besides Usain Bolt starts good and just finish good every race. I disagree. There is genetic differences in the physiology of every athlete, which is why an athlete is going to have a better start than a better finish, or a better finish and a better start. But that doesn't mean you can't get a more rounded race. Good example of that is Noah is known for his finishes. He's known for being a 200 athlete, but he still has a 6'4", 60 and a 9'7", 100, which is something the majority of the actively competing or retired sprinting population do not have. Another good example is Christian Coleman, who is on the opposite spectrum, who has similar results. World record holder in the 60, 9.7 in the 100, sub 20 in the 200. Your strengths define you, but your weaknesses don't have to. Cam, the longer Noah is patient, the better he is in the back half of the race. That's why he won in Paris. Noah doesn't win races because he's patient at the start of his race. He wins races because he trusts himself at the end of the race. And that doesn't come from being patient. That just comes from knowing, okay, I'm decelerating. They're all decelerating. I have the fastest 200 meter PB in the field. So by default, I should be able to hold my top end for longer than these guys. I have some of the fastest top end, if not the fastest top end, out of the entire field. So pair those two things together, it should be easy pickings to win as long as I don't break down. That's the reason why he doesn't break down. It's more mental than it is physical, or something he's doing good on the track at the start. Because just because you have a bad just because you have bad technique doesn't mean, and you get away with it, doesn't mean it's a good thing. Just like how, if you use Usain Bolt, he didn't always have a good start. And I say that I'm talking about the latter half of his race, the latter half of his career, not the start of his career. Didn't always have a good start, but his top end carried him. Noah uses the same method. He knows he's better than everyone else once he's upright, so he lets that carry him. But he can, as proven by his 60 PB, have a good first 50 and then let his top end carry him and then still do well. I don't actually know the splits. TK Maverick Kondo, exactly patience, but you can't wait too long like we saw versus Seville. Yeah, actually the Seville race is very important because in one of those races, Noah and Seville closed at the same rate, which is another issue. That shouldn't happen. Unless Seville's gotten faster, which I would say he probably has, there shouldn't be any instance where Noah's top end is matched for that long. I mean, it's not really being matched. Just they're maintaining they're hitting top end and maintaining at the same rate. But the fact that that's happening would be showing that they hit the same top end and they're maintaining the same rate the entire way, which isn't really good. I'm gonna skip Cam's stuff because that just verifies what I'm saying. Any sprinter can be beaten now because no sprinter can start good and finish good. I mean, not exactly. A good example of that is the Jamaicans. I speak from a place of bias as a Jamaican, but Oblique Seville in the one-off races, he starts amazing, he finishes amazing. Kashane Thompson, not always, but he has something similar occur where he can start and finish amazing, but when he tenses up, when he tries to reach for the line, when he tries to actually speed up beyond his top end, and he knows where his top end is, and he speeds up anyway, it's a detriment to himself. So it is possible, and even Noah, but I don't see him do it in the 100, but I do see him do it in the 200. For example, this race will live in my head probably for the rest of my life until I see someone do something faster. But that 19-3 1 race he did in 2023, he left everyone out of the blocks. That was a masterclass in how to run an amazing 200. And he had double the distance to finish strong. And he still did. That should make it harder to do, but he still did it, which shows it is possible. It's rare because a lot of people struggle to run the 100 effectively as they could, but it has been done. And what annoys me is the fact that he is one of the athletes who has done it before at least once, and these mistakes aren't really doing him justice. Oh, stability. I've already gone over that. Kashane doesn't tense up. Actually, let me just read it first. Cam, Kashane Thompson is a power runner, is tense up because he's so strong. Kashane doesn't tense up because he's so strong. He tenses up, like what I said before, because he's trying to rush the process. A good example of that is on the women's side. Julian Alfred is pretty much the same build. Like every single step she takes is like power. I would hate for her to step on me. That would hurt. Every step is power, but she takes the stride powerfully, and then she waits for the next step, and then it's power. She knows when to turn the muscles on, when to turn them off, so that she can get the elasticity, the recoil, the bounce, and then that carries her down the track. Whilst Kashane, he hasn't fully acknowledged the recoil effect that can occur when you relax, at least not consciously, which is why when he first ran 9.7, he told everyone that his coach told him that once he got to 60, he should just start to jog. What happens when you jog? You take it easy, you relax, you're not trying anymore. So he was able to run one of his fastest times to date because he just jogged the final 40 meters. I'm not even sure if it was 40 meters, it might have been a bit less. But he was able to jog the final 40 meters and run a 9.7, which makes no sense. And then he goes to the Olympics, and I think he's still running, he ran 9.79 anyway, but it was way more tense than what he was doing just a few months before. And it just comes from, he's over pushing as well, but just in the opposite direction. Instead of it being a toe off thing, it's more of what's happening in the air and what's about to happen pre-ground contact. TK Maverick Kondo, he's a modern day power if anything. I disagree. Kashane Thompson is nothing like Asafa Powell, and it shows. If you look at the World Athletics pages, Asafa Powell has no medals to his name in an open event outdoors. He has none, not a single one. And he's had like a decade of experience sprinting. Whilst Kashane, his first time on the world stage was at the Olympics, and he walked away with a silver medal. So on the biggest possible stage you could put a sprinter, he gets a silver medal. That's not an underperformance on my thoughts. There's going to be times where you're going to have your PB and you're going to underperform on that. That happens. But having 3 rounds in the 100 and walking away as the second fastest person of the year based off of medal color, that's not a bad thing. Especially when it's your first time being here. And he's like 22, 23. So he's young as well. He doesn't look it, but he's young as well. So that's another factor to play. Maybe might be a bit older now. But yeah, he's young. He's never been on the stage before and he's done that. So that's a good thing. I really find it weird that people keep underestimating him when he has no credentials whatsoever to speak of beyond a few 9.7s, which is obviously a lot to speak of, and the silver medal he's got at the Olympics. He's had no other world stage experience beyond that, and he performed so well. He's one of the fastest people in history, and he got silver in his first ever, not just world stage championship performance, but Olympics. That's big. That is big. Lyles was quite cool. Will I try coaching? From Addy. Maybe. I'll consider it. Golden, no, we'll take gold. I think you're a hero, no, and you always deliver when it counts. Okay. If you think I'm a hater, then I'll be watching World Champs. I mean, tomorrow doesn't really matter. It's just heats. But we'll see. Does he pull off the gold? Because I'm going to say he has looked the most vulnerable I've ever seen him. Realistically, at Nationals, he raced Kenny in the 200 and not the 1 because he knew if he raced Kenny in the 1, he was not going to win. And he wants to, especially considering the fact that he's dealing with a mid-season injury at the time, well, slightly before that, he wants to stay away from any race or any event he can where he would lose. and especially staying away from losing to people that he doesn't normally lose to. He's lost to Oblique Seville before. He's PB wise, he should be losing to Kashane. So if he was to race these two, it wouldn't be that big of a surprise. That is like, oh, he lost. Oh, this has happened before, or would be expected time wise. But if he was to lose to someone like Kenny, that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. A new 9-7 guy, no matter how strong the win was, has beat Noah, and most likely would have been by Melissa Jefferson margins if we look at how this season's gone for her. So that wouldn't be a good thing for him. So he's playing it smart, I would say. I'm not trying to be a hater on purpose. I'm not going to disagree. I do not like him. But I'm not trying to be a hater on purpose. But based on what I've seen, this is going to be the hardest season for him to win I've ever seen. The 200, though, 50-50, I'd say. The 100s, there's a reason why a lot of people don't even have him getting a medal. And these are people who have more experience on the world stage than I do. I have none. So if they don't even have him getting a medal at times, or just bronze, who am I to put him above that? Because if you follow the statistics of this season, if you was to follow the form he's been showing throughout the entire season, if you was to follow the fact that he got injured, and I think it was a foot injury, which is obviously close to his ankle, and he's already struggles with ankle stiffness, which just makes the whole thing worse. It just doesn't look good for him. Doesn't look good for him. Tanuki Raccoon. It could also be his body compensating because of his recent injury. That is a possibility. That is possible. But that would actually just make it worse. Because if your body's compensating for the injury by making you move slower, what does that say about what you're going to do when you go to World Champs? World Champs is tomorrow. He's in Tokyo right now. He's in Tokyo right now. Right this second, he's there. Probably trained and did some stuff a few days ago as well. Unless this is a few days ago. I don't know. I haven't done proper research on this one start. And I don't really think I care enough to. But if this is his way of compensating, this just further makes me think he's not going to do well. Because it's not looking good. And I mean, I was watching all of his races leading up to September. Every step seems flat. Even when he's upright, it kind of seems flat. You're not seeing him hit that same turnover, that same power, that same speed off of the ground that you were seeing him do just a year ago. And I don't want to hate Noah just to hate him. I hate his personality, but I love the way he runs. And I love the way how when he says something, he does his absolute best to turn words into a story, or turn a fiction into fact, in a sense. I love that. I love that process. I love that storytelling that he's able to come up with through just controversial words that he'll say at a press conference. But he's not doing it this season. The stiffness isn't there. He's lacking it. And I think it will come to bite him. And we'll see in the heats. So I don't think he's going to... I don't know if these guys are going to be in the preliminaries. But we'll see in the heats whether that's the case. I might make another video after the heats just to say what I think. Though I prefer to do it in the semi-finals, because the semi-finals is usually a good sport. I can make very accurate predictions semi-finals. For example, I knew Julian was going to win the 100 after the semi-finals, but I had an inkling from the heats. But we'll see what he's able to do. Thank you, Ashfast. Can't take criticism, is just plain wrong. I'm the main character. Okay, let me just find something relevant. Safa Power has 1 bronze medal in that 100. Okay, at one Legion, I apologize, take that back. But when you consider the fact that I'm pretty sure this was pre-Bolt era, this is the world record holder, and he's only got a bronze medal. It's a bad thing when you compare it to Kashane, who is not the world record holder, is the fastest man time-wise of the year in 2024, and he got a silver on first time on the world stage. That says a difference. Thank you again, Ashfast. TK Maverick Kondo. Noah personality does not equal all of the negative qualities you're talking about. I tried to differentiate, but I'm gonna say it again. I hate on Noah because I just don't like his personality, not because I don't like his running, like his form, for example. I'm not gonna hate on his form. This I will, because technically it's wrong. But once he's upright, there's not much to hate on. It's rather textbook. He runs how everyone else does, and his body does it better than everyone else does most of the time as well. But this lagging part makes it so it's really hard for him to break 10 consistently, which makes no sense because he shouldn't have any issues doing it. But this is an issue. This first part is an issue, and this is only the first 10 meters ish. I want to see what he's doing after this. Like, imagine if he's doing this for another 10 meters. I doubt he is, but that would clearly be an issue. TK Maverick Kondo. You just hate people who don't act nonchalant. I don't, actually. I like people who are interesting, but some of the stuff he says irks me. Like, for example, I found it funny when Fred Curley said, world record next time I touch the track. That was funny. I don't know if he was being serious, but most people took it as a joke. But that was funny, for example. And if you used not to take it as a joke, that would be extremely narcissistic. Extremely narcissistic. But I just found that funny, for example. But no one does it all the time. All the time. And it gets really old fast. TK Maverick Kondo, dude, why do you think everyone loved Bolt? He was fast and fun to watch. I agree, Noah's my man, but I can't be sure this year. Everyone loved Bolt because he was a great personality. He was narcissistic in his head, but he didn't show it often on the track. But you would see signs of his narcissistic. It's not really. What we say is him being narcissistic. It's more about him being over. It's not even overconfident if it's true, but it's more about him being so confident in his abilities. Because like, here's the difference why Bolt got away with it, but Noah in my book doesn't. And this isn't going off of the fact that his flag is my flag. Noah runs 9.7, 9.79 barely. That is not world record. Usain Bolt has the world record in the 100 and the 200. 9.58, 19.19. In the 100, no one is even a tenth of a second close to his PB. It takes 0.11 to find merely two athletes, who are within some level of distance to him, who could even challenge him. And these athletes were often injured, so barely had any actual issue. Asafa Powell, 9.72 guy. Every single time he at World Champs, he underperformed. He was never an issue. So when he's at these World Champs and Olympics, unless Justin Gatlin's there, he has no threat whatsoever. And Justin isn't a threat if Usain Bolt is in 9.6 shape. So it's just a bit different. So when Usain Bolt says other stuff, says some overconfident stuff like that, you can just let it slide because, like, yeah, he doesn't need to back his talk. He's already backed his talk. This is a multiple world record holder. Also had the junior world record before Arian Knighton. He's had credentials for a decade, pretty much by this point. He's got experience. He just doesn't lose. He doesn't like to lose. He pretty much doesn't lose. Like, it's a bit different compared to Noah, where he's saying all of this stuff and he's not even he doesn't even have the fastest time of the season. Another thing, he's the 12th fastest man this year, which is his lowest ranking in a while. If he was to win the 100, this would be the lowest. I believe this would be the lowest ranking to have ever won the 100 if he was to win. And if that's not the case, within the last 2 decades, this would be the lowest ranking to ever win, which would just put in perspective how difficult it's going to be for him to actually pull this off. I'm gonna assume that you're speaking to me. TK, I hope I'm saying your name right. TK Maverick Kondo, yeah, doesn't Noah do that too? He was undefeated over 200 for like actual years. Yeah, that's my point though. That's why I'm not saying he's not gonna get gold in the 200. In the 200, if he doesn't get gold, my head at worst silver. Every single year, I mean maybe not last year, but every single year where he competes in the 200 and he doesn't get a gold medal, my brain kind of just goes question mark and it fries. Like at the first Olympics, I was so stunned when he walked off with bronze. I mean, it just made no sense. And then the next one, the same thing. It makes no sense because it's like, this is the fastest guy actively competing in the 200. No one's even close. Now Tobago's close, but no one's really even close. And he's losing to people running times who are nowhere near his PB. Nowhere near time. Like, he could pretty much run a 19.5 on command, and I'm pretty sure in 2021, Andre de Grasse won with a 19.6. I mean, these things just don't make sense to me. But that's part of the reason why I'm not counting him out for the 200, because I know when it matters, more times than not, he pulls it off in a 2. But in the 1, he just doesn't have the time to get away with making mistakes like this. I just talked about that. TK Maverick Honda, but Noah's inspiration. Don't put him down just for being expressive. I'm putting down his personality, not specifically him as an athlete. But he doesn't have those press conferences, or he talks less about like the future stuff. Like when he was talking about running 9.6, I can more resonate with him because he's more interesting. Like for example, with Usain Bolt, he never really said specifically that he wanted to break the world record in any of his interviews. It's always other people saying, "Is this the year where you're gonna break the world record again?" Or he was just running and then he's like, "I broke the world record." Like, he always says he cared more about winning than he did running fast, and I guess he cared more about running fast than did the world record. The only instance where he cared about trying to get the world record, I would say, was 2008 for the 200. Beyond that, he was just running. That's part of the reason why he beat his chest with that 9.69. He wasn't really that focused on the world record. It's like, oh wow, I've won this event that I just started a year ago. Wow. Let me celebrate, show everyone how much this means to me. Then the 200 he locked in, because that's his event. And then the next year he's like, okay, now we're actually going to push for the world record because we beat our chest. What can we do for real? So let's do it. But beyond that, most of the time he's just running. That's part of the reason why in 2012 he missed the world record in the 100. He wasn't really trying for the world record. It was only at the end of the race where, in an interview, he acknowledges that he should have been able to get the world record, and I agree based on how he's running, because he just wanted to get in front of everyone and then stay there. He wasn't really trying to just create a legacy. The legacy was just coming naturally. But with Noah, it just feels like he's trying to force it down your throat. When it's there, and no one can take it away from you. Like, when you're this fast, you don't need to tell me about how great you are. I'll tell you about how great you are, for example. That's the legacy you've built. Other people know about you without you having to talk about yourself. You know? Like, TK Maverick Kondo, part of my point, like, the 6-time Diamond League champ, by the way, who cares about the Diamond League? Who cares? I don't care. Like when you're at the Diamond League finals, and I think it's Zurich every year, I care more about that time you run instead of about that medal. Well, not the medal, that trophy that you hold up because you've won the whole thing. Doesn't matter. Like, in this case, okay, are you in shape to do well at Worlds? No? Okay, I just saw it from what you just did in the Diamond League that you're probably not going to do that well at Worlds. Or after Worlds or the Olympics, when the Diamond League finals usually is, did you run another fast time, or did you run the time you said you was going to run, even though you missed it at... Did Noah Lyles run in any one of his Diamond League champs? Like, the finals, sorry. Couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you. Or if you was to ask me the same thing about some other athletes, I know Christian Coleman's won a few times as well. Couldn't tell you. I don't care. I don't remember. But if you used to say, where did Noah Lyles run 9.7?
where did Christian Coleman run 9.7? Chances are I could tell you the location. Might not be able to tell you the event unless they got a gold medal there, because that's all that really matters in the sport. But beyond that, I don't care. I'm not that interested, and most people aren't either. Like, if you used to go to a regular person off the street and say, "Do you know who Noah Lyles is?" They'll be like, "Yeah. He won the 100 at the Olympics, right?" And then if you used to ask, "Oh, did you know he wins some other stuff as well, like the Diamond League?" Like, what's a Diamond League? No one really cares, because it's not really that interesting or that important. You don't really, like, you're not gonna get that big of a bump in your sponsorship, for example, because you won the Diamond League finals, because they don't care either. Do sprinting analysis on us viewers for a stream by Get Right. I mean, I could, but will I? Well, I'll think about it. I need to hurry up because I need to go to bed, so I need to train in the morning. Okay. I'm gonna ignore that because I've already said that. Cheryl Robinson, no one beating Noah at World Champs. The man is unbeatable. Again, I'm not gonna go over this again, but again, for the 2, I want to agree with that. 98% of the time, that 2% is that 2 times he's lost on the biggest stage at the Olympics. But in the 100, I mean, he's got a decent track record so far. But is he gonna win this year? Doesn't look like it. Based off of the stats that I've already gone over, again, doesn't look like it. Like, if we're talking legacy, this is legacy right here. This is similar to like when Usain Bolt was racing Justin Gatlin in the 2013 and 2015. I mean, 2015 World Champs. 2013 wasn't that surprising. Where it's like, you have to do something that's never been done before, or do something that's rarely been achieved to win. You know, like, his world ranking placing is a fact, and the fact that people at his world ranking placing don't get gold is also another fact. If he was to do that, he would be, if not the first in history, one of the first in history. That's a legacy right there. That is legacy, and that would be very impressive. But I feel like if that was to happen, it'd probably be from everyone else running slow instead of from him running fast, which is another weird thing. But again, in this scenario, when it comes to gold, the time doesn't matter. What matters is the color of your medal. It's saying you got a medal. That's the only thing that really matters. Pull Up Paradise. It's hard to be a big Noah fan if you have Jamaican origin, which is weird, you know, because Noah is actually Jamaican. I'm pretty sure he's got Jamaican heritage, which it makes no sense. But yeah, it is quite hard. It's mainly because he's from the USA. I mean, we've got this beef with the USA because of Usain Bolt. I'm just to TK Maverick Kondo. I'm just responding to stuff that I find interesting. You guys can have your beef if you want in the comments. It's not gonna be for much longer because I'm probably gonna end this soon. Akeem Thomas, I don't think Ball is narcissistic. He's just confident in his ability. I agree. It's less narcissistic, narcissism, and more just being that good. It's like, if you know you could beat someone tripping, why would you be scared to race him? Like, if I was to go race an 11.3 guy as an 11 flat sprinter, I'm not going to be scared. If I was to go race an 11 flat sprinter and I'm in 6.99 shape from my indoors, I'm definitely not going to be scared because it's similar margins. TK Maverick Kondo, 979 is respectable though. He came from barely making US team to Olympic champ. My man has gone through the trenches. I agree. I'm not going to disagree with that because 9.7 at the end of the day is world class. How many people have run a 9.7. I believe there's no more than 15 in history, probably less. No more than 15 in the history of this sport who have ever run a 9.7. I don't care what wind it is. Even if you count a legal wind, there's not that many people have done that. So the list would be a bit bigger with the legal wind. But so the fact that he's on the list, and he's on the list legally, is a big thing. I'm not going to take that away from him. A 9.7 is still 9.7 at the end of the day. It doesn't matter if you're on the opposite end of the world or even Kenya. 9.7 is 9.7. I don't care what the altitude is, but you are your last race, not your PB. And if your last race isn't your PB, or at least one of your last races wasn't your PB, this would be an issue. If he's running 9.7, looking like this, yeah, this live may have never happened. This live, if it did, it would have the opposite connotations where I'll be saying where he could run possibly a 9.6. But the issue is he's not doing this running like this. But though, we'll see. We've only got a few, like World Champs is actually in about 5-6 hours if you count the preliminaries. And there's only a few days of it. So maybe he will run a 9.7 looking like this. And then I'm going to redact everything I've said. I won't make an apology video, but I'll make a community post about how I was wrong and he won and whatever. Actually, I'll do that if he gets scored as well in the 100. If he gets scored in the 100, I will make a community post acknowledging I was wrong. But it's too much, whether that's statistically or technically, which put him at a disadvantage, or historically even, which put him at a disadvantage of doing the best. Wasn't it Johan who came from 12.2 though? TK Maverick Honda. I'm not certain. I know Johan's race was an anomaly, partially because Usain Bolt got knocked out, but I'm not certain if I would say he was 12th. I'm not too sure about that. Because in 2011, when he ran his 9.9 to win, it was into a massive headwind, which converted roughly to, because I think he ran 9.91, which would convert to a 9.8. So, and at that time, 9.8 was more impressive than it is now. Because like now, because of super shoes, it's more often, well, you see more often that someone will run a 9.8. Like it's usually like everyone just drops down by like a tenth or half of a tenth. So a 9.9 guy could run a 9.8, a 9.8 guy could run a 9.7. But actually, if you're running 9.7 though, like again, like I'm saying, doesn't matter what you have on your feet. 9.7 is 9.7. As long as the wind's legal, that 9.7 is legal. So it doesn't matter what anyone says. But I'm not too sure if he was 12th. I think he was in the top 10. So I'm pretty sure TRP made a video going over it, and I think he might have been like 9th. But I don't think he was 12th. Pull up Paradise. I think Bolt was 15th in 2015 when he won. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure Bolt ran 9.7. Justin Gatlin did as well. He ran like 3 or so 9.7s, but I'm pretty sure Bolt ran 9.7, so he would have been in the top 3 rankings. He wasn't 15th. If he was 15th, that race would have been crazier by the fact that he won. And again, he won really fast, so that's another thing. Hello, Matt Bialco. King Delusion Bolt said that Bleak would win last year and that Ninja got lost. Who cares what that old washed up dude says in the Big 2025? I'm ignoring what he's saying because again, it's not really relevant. He's not competing, and being an athlete and being a coach and being a technical an analyzer are 3 different things. Being a coach is kind of in line with being a technical analyzer, but Oblique could have won last year, but that's only if you look at his technique. When you look at his injury history and how well he runs rounds, it's not that big of a surprise that he came last. Though he has a better chance this season, because I would say of every athlete actively competing this season, he's the only one who I would say has 9.7 in his legs, who hasn't run a 9.7 yet. He ran 9.81 headwind and into practically like a rainstorm. That's not something that you scoff at, you know? That's quite intense. But though it was one round, so that's another thing to worry about. You guys is arguing in the comments, and it's not even about what I'm saying. Okay, well, I think I've talked about what I wanted to talk about. I'm gonna let this video of no allows run so you guys can watch it. Because it's live, I guess you can go backwards and see whatever this is. But here you go. It's also in slow-mo. Very flat-footed as well. He's on the balls of his feet, but he's landing straight down. Instead of back sometimes, which is weird. All the time. Yeah, Noah does like pulling miracles out, but I'm not sure if he's got it in him to pull a miracle out this time. If he pulls out this miracle again, genuine legacy now. This is a genuine legacy he's built. Because this isn't something that he should be able to do from where he is, or from how he's moving. This is like if, with the times I'm running, I was to suddenly drop a 10.5. Unless I already had it in my legs, which Noah does have a 9.7 in his legs. I believe that. It wouldn't make sense, but the only way that can come is from technique. We're in some funny times. I actually might make a live tomorrow. I won't be like doing it whilst the World Champions is coming out, but I honestly might have to make a live tomorrow because this is just so interesting. It's so interesting. I can't wait to see what's just gonna happen. This is gonna be probably the most interesting World Champs I've ever watched beyond probably 2023 post Bolt era, because that has to be included. But I'll see you guys in whatever next I make. Also, I've got a video coming out next week Wednesday. It's gonna be very good. It's gonna be if you haven't seen my community post, because I talked about it there, it's gonna be my journey to 699. So me starting from 7.5 or 7.49 all the way down to 6.99 in 3 years. I think that's impressive. 3 years to go from trash to moderately trash is quite good, you know. Sub 7, that's quite lit. So yeah, make sure you actually watch that video. Make sure you're ready for that video. So I have to admit that was a very good video. I've watched it 3 times already, and I edited it and made it. And I usually hate watching my own videos, so that says a lot. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one, and I don't know what to say. Just stay peaceful.